after the trial, I saw we still struggle with columns, so I have to repeat them columns. So I'll repeat columns. When you are doing columns, pay attention to the questions. I've said you can look at the previous video where I spoke about columns, and you check how I explain columns. But for the fact that this is a part of the corrections from the test, so I'll repeat because the question was there in trial. So my points are, when we do columns, before we do columns, we must ask ourselves if is the whole page columns or it's section columns. So we must ask ourselves always, we must ask that question to us, to ourselves, to say that is it the whole page columns or is the section columns? Okay, that's the first thing that you ask yourself. Now I've said that the section columns is where you will put section breaks before you put columns, and then you put columns. Okay, and then let me take this example here from these student files. Let me take the example of the column questions. Okay, so if they say retrieve, for example, it means you open from the ready prepared doc for you. So this is the document that's opening, that is already prepared for you. But the main thing that I'm speaking about now is columns. Okay, let me put this one down and so you read the question carefully. In the question that you will then identify the question to say that is this question want me to do the entire page columns, or is this question wants me to do the section columns? Okay, what's the difference? The difference is that with section columns, you put columns in part of a page. You don't put columns everywhere. Okay. And how do you do that? You do that by putting page breaks. So this, it's a marker. You insert this thing first. It's a marker. It will help you to indicate where you've put section breaks. For example, you go to layout, and then you go to breaks, and then you choose continuous. Okay, and then you've got section breaks, and then maybe you press enter up to this stage, and then you go back there with continuous, and then you say breaks. So it means that if you've put section break like this, now you can put columns in this section, inside of this section where the question will indicate where to put columns. That's the first thing. Sometimes for those who are doing IP, information processing, the question of columns they would want you to type. Okay, so it means that you will put section breaks before you put columns, or you just put the first section, you put columns, you put the last section, and then a section break. You put the first break, you do the column work, you put the last break, and then it will then you will then have that space, and the columns will sit inside the section. So in this case, the column is inside this section, so you put the section break if it's a section columns. Now, how do you identify, how do you see if the question wants me to do the whole page columns, or they want me to do section columns, or they want me to use a table to put columns? Now, the following words are keywords. So if the word is pamphlets, okay, if the topic of the question is pamphlet for those who are doing IP, it means you use a table to insert columns. If number 2, if the question says A5 brochure, it means it's the whole page columns and your page is a landscape. Okay, and if it's a trifold brochure, it means still the page is A4 and it's a landscape. Okay, let me repeat that. Because A5 is bigger than A4. Okay, that's the first thing that you must know. For those who have qualifications, especially university qualifications, they are A5. Okay, my diploma, my BTech, it's a A5 brochure. Okay, right? Then, if it's a A5 like that, it's bigger than A4. But then, because of the general used paper for exams, it's a A4. So it means that when they say A5 brochure, you don't change the page. You don't change the page size. You use A4. You don't use A5. You don't choose anything here. You don't go here and choose. Now you remain here on A4. Okay? You remain here on A4. A4. You remain A4. But the reason that you remain on A4 is because the paper that you use to print is A4. Even if they want you to do A5 brochure, right? Keep it in mind. But I'm here to speak about columns. So you just going to make your page landscape. If the question it says create a A5 brochure. So that's the keyword. So on your mind, you must know that if it's a A5 brochure, therefore it means that I must put my page on landscape. Okay? You put your page on landscape. Now, when you look at these pages, I'm just saying it now. The second page is landscape, the first page is portraits, just because of section breaks. So even for columns, if you put section break here, it means you can do anything on this section, and on the following section, you can do the other thing. Okay, but the page size, it remains A4, even if the question wants you to do A5 project. Okay, let me just try to summarize what I was saying all along as the video have started. I was saying that when it comes to the columns, there are 4 types of columns, or the question of columns, there are 4 types of question of columns. Okay, the first question of columns, it's a columns when they say create columns. Okay, so if they just say create columns and you don't see the word brochure, you don't see the word A5 brochure, you don't see the word pamphlet, and you don't see the word trifold, you don't see those, it means they just want you to do section columns. And then when it comes to section columns, the first thing first, you must select a section by using a section break where you want your columns. So you will use section breaks, and your section breaks, it will be where you want your columns. Okay. But if the question of columns, it has the word pamphlet, if the question of columns, it has the word A5 brochure, if the question of columns, it has a word trifold, or it has the word brochure. Let's start with the pamphlet. If it has a word pamphlet, you will use a table. And then if it does not have a word, if it has a word brochure, it means it's the whole page columns. If you see the word brochure, it's a whole page columns. If you see trifold, it's a full page columns. So if you are doing a A5 brochure, you are using a page landscape, and it's a whole page columns. If you are doing a trifold, it's a whole page columns, but you are using the word if you see the word the trifold, it's a whole page columns, but you are using 3 columns or 6 columns, and the word brochure is 2 columns or 4 columns. It will depend on your question. And then if you don't see those words, if it's a display work, then you put the display work on a table, but the page is landscape. It means they want you to put the table. But if they just say create columns, it means it's section columns. Since it's the section columns, you have to do a section break for your columns. You always do section breaks for your columns. The point that I wanted to make is that you always do the section breaks. How to do a section break? You go to breaks, you say continuous break, and then you go to other break, you say continuous break. So if you have continuous break like this, you just bracket with the continuous break where you want to put your columns. So let's do the example here. If maybe this was a document where they wanted you to insert columns, you would use this document to insert columns. Okay. For example, we've got paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and paragraph 4, paragraph 5. You have got these paragraphs. Okay. let's close this paragraph and make it one document, or let's say oh no, sorry. If they say use okay, let me just put them in order first. Okay, it's 1, 2. So it's 1, 2, 3. So it's 4. Okay, from here it's 4. So you've got, I'll put it like this. So you've got step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. So if they say make step 2 and step 3 to be 3 columns, okay, so it means that they want you to take step 2 and step 3 into 3 columns. So it's step 2 and step 3 into 2 columns, and then they into 3 columns, and then they tell you that this word failure, it should be at the beginning of the 3rd column. The first thing first, you come here, you click, you press enter, you insert a section break, okay, and then breaks, you say, oh, so that you can see your breaks, you activate the marker. Okay, you put the marker here, and then you go to layout, and then you go to breaks, and then you say continuous break, so that you can see your break here. Okay, there is my break here, and then at the end here I also put a continuous break. So since I have a continuous break here, if you look at here, I've got a continuous break here, from here to here. It means I can now highlight this one, and then I go to columns, I select 3 columns, okay, because I want to do 3 columns. So these are 3 columns, but the instructions say that this way, you can see this one, this way it's failure should be the beginning of columns. So I'll put a cursor here, and then I go to I say column break. It's column break here, and then I go and put a cursor here again. Where is the word failure? It's here. I put the cursor here again, and then I go to breaks, I say column break again. So by doing that, at least the word failure, it went to the beginning of the last column, as it says, and then I remove the marker. So by doing that, I've changed the content that they want me to change to columns. So of which is step 1 and step 2, and the word failure at the beginning of the 3rd columns. That's how you change paragraphs into columns. Thank you for watching. I hope this video added